Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Embarrassing Stories. Ignore the fact that my hair gets longer in the next few stories. Totally didn't edit out any stories that were generated by AI that I hadn't realized at first, but became kind of obvious in retrospect. First up today, we have TIFU by riding an e-bike on the highway. By It Happens G&G. I got an e-bike to make my life just a little bit less dull and reliant on either Uber or friends to get to work and school, and just general go-round. The bike I got, however, was kind of lacking from the description the seller listed, and I thought I got scammed or something. For the most part, still met what I needed though, as I only really needed 10 miles a charge. It's not an obvious thing at all, but I figured out you can basically go into the developer mode and tweak some settings. I removed the limiter, and increased the amps I can use. I also added the cruise control option and tweaked some basics like starting torque. I decided to try out my bike on a longer ride than usual. The city I live in absolutely sucks, and the bike actually opens up my options quite a bit. So I decided to ride about 15 miles out and check out some entertainment places in that area. My Google Maps was set to the bike route at that time, and it was pretty bad. Made me do like 3 turnarounds, and my state is so horrible I lost signal half the time and my GPS took a bit to update. Anyways, my bike ended up dying. R.I.P. So I had to wait like an hour for it to charge, enough to get back home. From the GPS messing up and a few other places I checked out, ending up being a bust. I have thoughts on e-bikes, I'll express it at the end of the story. Ended up being a bust, I was kinda mentally checked out. Hopped back on G-Maps and set the directions to my house. I didn't notice it was in fact not set to a bike route. The route it gave me, for the most part, was a normal long roads until it had me go on the highway. Now mind you, I'm already checked out, and to be honest, I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that I was on the highway. I was attentive, as I don't want to die, and of course I did notice all the cars moving a lot faster than normal, but at that time it didn't really click that something was wrong. I stayed on the right lane that was separated from the main road, which I found out is in fact not to be used as a bike lane. And even in my dazed state I kind of thought, isn't this pretty dangerous? Considering I had to merge a lot, then shift over to what I thought was a bike lane, and the cars caught up to me a lot faster than on our regular road when it came to shifting lanes. Anyways, my bike ended up dying again, and I just continued walking down the bike lane for the last mile-ish I had left on the highway, until I made it to a gas station to charge it enough to finish most of the 2.5-ish miles I had left to get back home, before looking up online that bicycles are in fact not allowed on the freeway and highway. Now, it's a little late for the OP, but I'm expressing my thoughts on e-bikes. If you're going to get an e-bike, it should also work primarily as a bike. You should be able to pedal it with no difficulty. And the engine should just be able to, the motor should just be to help you go a bit further, get you up steeper hills and things like that. And if it doesn't work as that, don't buy it, otherwise you might find yourself stuck in a difficult situation. I was actually watching a video the other day, and there was a guy who had planned out his route on his fancy new e-bike, and I was really confused when it was like, his bike ran out of charge and he didn't know how to get back home. I'm thinking, but just use the pedals? That's what they're there for. But apparently it was one of those ones that was too heavy to ride, because the pedals are just for show. So do bear in mind, stick to the speed limits, make sure you know what the law is where you are, and if you're going to get an e-bike, make sure you can pedal it. And if you need something faster, that's what motorbikes and scooters and e-motos and things like that are for. But you do have to, there's more regulations in place with those. I do hope to get an e-bike myself one day, or maybe do a conversion on my existing bike. I don't know if it would be worth it. I mean, it was just one of those Halfords Carrera Parvas. It's done me okay over the years, mind you. We've been through the wars together. I've repaired a lot of things on it, mostly due to careless riding on my part, and some not so much. But yeah, if I do, it'll just be to help with the hills. Oh, and if you're in the UK, do bear in mind that you cannot have a bike with a throttle except under very, very special circumstances where you have to get each individual bicycle approved. So just stick to pedal assist. Okay, on to the next. Okay, story number 2. TIFU by boiling a goat's head in our swanky kitchen by R. Manflint 1. The headline will make you think I'm a Satanist, but I have a perfectly plausible explanation. This was from the spring of 2022. Stay with me here. It started with my buddy Dan, who was an old friend who kinda sorta got stuck here during the pandemic. He lives in Hong Kong. And now my live-in guest house. It's a long story. Anywho, Dan is an expert arborist whose affinity for cacti and succulents coalesced with our need for low-water xeriscape and low-cost, read-free, landscaping and gardening service. Dan is in my legendary Our Trees post, Dan with Pygmy. Now the FU, Dan has created little vignettes in the cactus garden. Some are rocks and branches or brass lizards. There are also quite a few bones, bleached old steer heads, a deer jaw or antlers. So occasionally, one of us or my wife will find a bone in the local state park and bring it home to go in the yard. Today was different. Dan came back in our painted old red truck as I was leaving. As I walked up to the truck, my dog Larry starts going apeshit. Dan says, "Look what I found in a dump site." Dan is a notorious scrounger. Lo and behold, the severed head of an adult goat. Horns, ears, eyeballs, and all. Oh, and it was meat locker fresh. Whoever did this is still digesting the little fella. There was talk of a neatly folded hide, but he couldn't bring himself up to the gnarly task of bagging the bloody thing. Most regular guys would be horrified if one of their roommates brought home a goat's head, but I'm not going to lie, I thought it was awesome. Now, what to do? Check YouTube. After a couple of perfunctory glances on how to clean a fresh animal skull, we went shopping, with goat head still in the bed of the truck, and continually enthralling the dogs. We acquired a giant cheap-ass metal pot from Goodwill, and cleaned out the local CVS of hydrogen peroxide. My wife goes to bed early. She knew about the goat's head and had been surprisingly tranquil about it. For a girly girl, she has a herpetologist's heart. Because the tolerant and naive thing didn't ask us how we were going to clean it, we felt we didn't need to tell her. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission. In the lush expanse of our marble counter and high-quality appliances, we started boiling it. We threw in a half-cup of OxyClean to help the process along. Thanks to Dalmer Guy 23 on YouTube. Let's not ask how he got that name. Things were going pretty well. The dogs were getting more and more agitated. My Parsons Russell Wally was making novel dolphin-like sounds I'd never heard before. Larry, our 100-pound mutt, was pacing nervously in and out of the kitchen. Good new smells were afoot. The room was heavy with predation and bloodlust. That's how it smelled to the dogs. But to everyone else without a canine's olfactory endowment, it smelled like a Chinese tallow rendering plant with notes of vomit, shit, and a hint of lamb. Looking into the boiling pot, trying not to breathe, the human-like short black hair was most disturbing, until we pulled the well-done skin away from the skull, exposing round eyeballs looking up at us asking, "Why? Why? Why?" Perhaps due to the OxyClean, the whole mess boiled over, covering too many surfaces for me to list here. We decided it would be better to keep changing the water as the stench grew worse and worse. We poured the first batch of goat head soup directly into the sewage clean-out. It was impossible not to retch, carrying that huge bubbling cauldron of foul what the fuck. At this point, my wife unexpectedly walks into the kitchen. She goes to bed early. The look she gave me was the look that any successfully married man spends all his time trying to avoid. What the fuck? This house stinks. I should add at this point that my wife hates lamb, as in I can't even eat or order lamb when I'm with her. It's real trauma stuff from her childhood on a ranch. Not Silence of the Lambs shit, but adjacent. And nothing smells more like lamb than the boiling head of a dead ritual goat found in a random empty lot. You may ask, how does Flint get lamb? Which I enjoy. Well, I've taken to sneaking out to have lamb dates with Dan, who carries a jar of mint jelly at all times. We're still cleaning out the kitchen and spraying Febreze and other shit to help get rid of the stench. For some reason, the rosemary and thyme Yankee candles seemed apropos. My wife is texting me, afraid to venture into the kitchen. I've been texting her reassurances. Ironically, I do almost all of the cooking, and the swanky kitchen is my man cave, along with my real man cave. 2 man caves. Life of luxury. The lamb aversion just wasn't thought out. The goat head is now surprisingly clean, with all flesh, hair, and brain removed, and soaking calmly in a hydrogen peroxide solution, thanks to Buffalo Bill 628 on YouTube. Again, not asking how they got that name. Story number 3. TIFU by Weirding Out My Dentist by OK Dury 9154. I have a pretty strong fear of the dentist. It's been since I was a kid and had work done before my teeth were numb, followed by recurring nightmares with tooth-related injuries and such. This means that whenever I go to the dentist, I have an emotional support person, usually my partner, stress balls for squeezing, headphones to drown out the noise, and if I ever need something more than a cleaning, I use the nitrous. Well, we recently moved and I got a new dentist, and unfortunately I also needed a cavity filled. They were very sweet as I explained my fear and what I'd need, including the nitrous. When it came time to start the gas, I think they did a bit too much, because I was flying so very high. The best way I could describe it is it felt like my body didn't have edges anymore, like I didn't have skin. It was just a part of the air around me. For someone who has never done drugs or even alcohol, it was a lot. And for some reason I couldn't figure out how to tell them that it was up way too high. I just kept wiggling my toes and fingers, finding ways to make sure I could still feel and I wasn't dead. And I really was still in the chair in the dentist's office. Here's where the TIFU comes into play. One of the things I decided to wiggle was my tongue. You see, when I was a bored kid, I figured out how to do all sorts of tongue tricks. I could flip my tongue over, make a clover, and I can do the wave. It's pretty fun for game nights. Not so fun when you're in the dentist chair and trying to center yourself in the universe. So I started doing tongue tricks while the dentist was still working in my mouth. I don't remember much of what happened. See nitrous? But I think I was doing the wave for more than about a minute when the dentist said, "I'm sorry, but could you please stop?" Which I did, and returned to wiggling my feet and hands. Later after the appointment, and I fully came back to myself, I was completely mortified. I can just picture being a dentist, trying to work on a client's teeth, one you've never worked on before, and their tongue starts breakdancing, probably licking your hand and tools in the process. It has become the new memory and creates instant cringe every time it surfaces. I can almost guarantee you that's probably not the weirdest thing a patient has done while under nitrous. You're probably okay, and I'm sure they'd be delighted to see you again, as well as your checkbook. I used to hate going to the dentist. I don't love it now, but I don't mind it so much. Basically what happened was, I won't name the creature, but my dentist was known, let's put it this way, I was on my way to the dentist one day, my new dentist, and I'd gotten a taxi because I wanted to get it done and over with. The bike was probably out of commission or something at the time. And I was talking to the taxi driver, and I mentioned, oh yeah, I think my old dentist died, right? and someone else actually bought and took over the practice. And I told them, "Oh, the butcher," which is interesting because I'd never heard anyone call him that, but that is what I thought of him as in my mind. Turned out he was indeed quite notorious. I remember this man once practically had his knee up in my chest, not quite, but almost, trying to get a tooth out, and then blamed me at the end of it because he couldn't get the job done properly. So when I went to my new dentist, amazing experience. Compared to my previous experiences, this was like a vacation. Such good work. The work was done well, and I felt as comfortable as you can while in a dentist chair. Very lovely people down there as well. I would recommend the new people running the place. Okay, story number 4. This one was helpfully deleted by the Reddit mods, but the person that wrote it was kind enough to send me a copy. I'll just make the text purple because it's easier on the eyes. Okay, this one we'll see as TIFU by leaving my kitchen unattended by throwaway trash XO. Some of my time in college, I was living in off-campus student housing apartments with 3 other roommates I was randomly paired with. While I was home one evening, I decided that I wanted to deep clean the kitchen floor with a rag, since we were all out of the Swiffer mop pads. To give a small idea of the layout of this place, the kitchen is open and right at the entrance of the apartment. The kitchen has vinyl flooring and the rest of the apartment has that flat type of carpet. There's those metal transition strips around the kitchen separating its floor from the carpet of the connected living room and hallway entrances, which becomes relevant later. Well, I began filling our very large sink with soapy water and plug it with a rag so it'll fill and give me an easy source of sanitary water to clean the floor with. I vaped at the time. I have since quit. And my vape was charging in my room. So I decided to go to my room, which is right by the kitchen, and quickly hit my vape. This was not quickly. My unmedicated ADHD brain got distracted on my phone and completely forgot that I had left the sink running. Probably 45 minutes later, I hear the faint sound of water running and wonder what the hell it is. My heart falls into my ass as I realize what it was. I walk out to the kitchen and see the entire kitchen floor absolutely flooded with water. Due to the previously mentioned metal transitioning strips, the water stayed contained to the kitchen, which created a pretty deep layer of water, about enough to almost cover your whole foot while standing on it. I immediately unplug the sink and begin grabbing towels to try to soak up the mess. Due to the thick puddle of water, the towels immediately got completely soaked and therefore became ineffective when it came to drying the floor. So I began using a cup to scoop the water. As I'm frantically trying to clean the mess, I get a knock at my door. It's the downstairs neighbors. A group of 3 people greet me at the door asking if everything is okay, and tell me that water has been heavily leaking through their ceiling and all over their kitchen. They look absolutely dumbfounded to see my ass standing almost ankle-deep in my kitchen all full of water. I come up with a lie and say that my washing machine had malfunctioned and completely flooded my kitchen. How the hell would I explain to them that my dumbass thought of the grand idea to clean my not even dirty kitchen floor by hand with a fucking rag and left my sink unattended for almost an hour, where it began to overflow? I tell them that I'm going to request for maintenance to come and check out my washer, but they seem reasonably very pissed and annoyed with me. To begin supporting my lie, I get a pot and fill it with water and a ridiculous amount of soap, where I then dump it into my washing machine to make it look like it had overflowed due to malfunction. I spend a lot of time trying to make this washing machine look as soapy and ridiculously overflowed as possible. During my scheme, a student employee knocks on my door to check out the washing machine. She takes a look at it and says that she'll submit a maintenance request for them to come by the next day. After she leaves, I spend the next hour and a half cleaning up my ridiculously flooded kitchen. I keep imagining my poor downstairs neighbours who have become victims of our poorly constructed apartment complex, and my absolute stupidity. I thankfully cleaned up the mess before any of my roommates had come home, and fed them my lie so they weren't blindsided by the maintenance guy coming the next day for our broken washing machine. And thankfully our living room nor hallway fell victim to my idiotic behaviour due to the metal transition strips. Only a scant amount of water had overflowed, so there was no disastrous consequences there. The next day the maintenance guy has stopped by and said he couldn't find anything wrong with our machine. How odd. All in all, everything moved on business as usual, and due to some miracle, our washing machine had miraculously fixed itself. Wish mine would. The seal's currently damaged on it, I need to replace it. That's not a fun job to do. Alright, fifth and final story. My machine actually is leaking because the machine's damaged. TIFU by trying to treat myself for eating clean with a sugar-free option. By War Grahammer. War Grammar. Okay, right, it's the American pronunciation. I've been working so hard to improve my diet and lifestyle, and thus far it's paid off. I'm a 31-year-old guy who was over 250 pounds and 6'1", and I've lost almost 20. So far, so good. I keep meeting my protein goals, stay under calorie limits, lift, all that. It's about time I treat myself, I thought. Yes, it is. My problem is that I've been trying to defeat a ravenous, untamable sweet tooth. As in, I used to eat a tub of ice cream with the ferocity of a withdrawing heroin addict twitching outside of a gas station. And if I didn't get my ice cream or chocolate fix, I'd get pissed. Well, if you're gonna have ice cream, you want to worry about the calories. Breyers, Halo Top, and believe it or not, at least in the UK, Aldi also do like super low calorie ice creams where it's like a 300 something calories a tub, depending on the one you get. So, I'm at my local grocery store picking up stuff for meal prep, and I figured I might give myself just a little indulgence that doesn't result in a massive binge like a Dairy Queen or Sonic Shake with like 1,500 calories in it. I walk down the baked goods section, see nothing of interest, then make my way over to the candy aisle after I pick my meal prep up. Nope, more nope, but wait, there it is! My magic solution. Something I was only aware of before briefly, but had never explored in my sweet sucker phase. A giant bag that said sugar-free, with an assortment of York peppermint patties, Hershey's Special Dark, and Reese's Mini Cups. I look at the calories for them. Damn near nothing compared to other candies. Sub 100 calories per serving of several pieces of some of them. And it says aspartame free. Screw it, we ball. I grab the bag and, like a toddler with a new G.I. Joe action figure, I excitedly waddle over to the checkout and pay and get home. While cooking my meal prep, I decide to pop a few pieces. First, the Reese's Cup. Oof, holy smokes, it's delicious. Then a York Patty, my favorite coffee table candy in my past life. Yo, bro, it's good too. Tastes barely any different. The Hershey's Slap as well. I was well under my calorie limit for the day. I took a couple of swigs of my favorite peach kefir. Then I eat 4 more pieces. 4 become 8. 8 becomes 12. Holy crud, I gotta stop or I'll blow through the bag. I seal it and put it in my pantry and then resume my cooking. I got chicken in the oven and a pressure cooker full of vegetables. My cat is happily purring in the corner, munching on Greenie's dental treats. All is good. Sweet treat with little to no macro consequence. Oh, fuck. I feel it. We all know the feeling. The grumble, the rumble in the gut. More time passes, and that first wave of concern seemed like a fluke. False alarm. Or so I think. I finish my meal prep, and pack it up, then head upstairs to resume work on a paint project. I got the airbrush running, painting a gorgeous space marine. It happens again. Oh no. Willy Wonka is... It happens again. Oh. It happens again. Oh. Oh no. Willy Wonka's chocolate river is overflowing the banks, and the Oompa Loompas are running for the door. They don't get paid enough for this. They're unionizing. I leap up and run straight for the bathroom. I could barely get my pants down in time. My cat follows me and cranes her head around the door. My rear becomes a ruptured sewage pipe in the heart of New Delhi. It reaches the Ganges River, and for once the locals are running away from it. Nobody would bathe in this. And it hurts, it burns, it stings so unfair. Every time I think it's over, another wave comes. My abs cramp again. Another water treatment plant in New Delhi explodes. Bollywood flees in terror. My toilet bowl looks like somebody emptied the Wendy's chocolate frosty machine into it. And yet it smells like a hint of vegetables. Like the Jolly Green Giant special collab flavor of Nesquik. Wave after wave continues. My cat, my poor cat, she dry heaves and runs away. Do you know how bad your poop has to stink for a flippin' cat to be repulsed enough to outright flee? This is a cat that always insists on rubbing and licking my legs when I'm upon the great porcelain throne of Westeros, after I've murdered a Mexican burrito and queso dip. She's just gone. Winter is coming. It's been coming. It won't stop coming. I've got my hands bracing the wall like a drunk guy taking a piss in a college bar. My butt is trumpeting like the Parasaurolophus from the second Jurassic Park movie, as is overwhelmed by the human hunters that all get eaten alive later. It makes sounds I didn't know it was capable of. I was on the can for almost 2 hours. It would not stop until I think every single fluid in my body got sucked out of me save for my nutsack. Like the dude from One Punch Man who got sucked dry by that mosquito chick or whatever she was called. My back door now burning and tingling. I wipe it with some wet witch hazel wipes and stagger back to the kitchen. Oh, my cat is thrown up everywhere. I check the bag of candy. I look at the ingredients. No sugar? I've had sugar-free soda, sugar-free sweetener for coffee. What the hell went wrong here? Stevia. It was stevia. I almost never have stevia. I avoid it when given the option because the last time I had a drink sweetened with stevia, it made me feel weird and tasted mid. But I just ingested half a bag of stevia pumped candy after taking a huge swig of probiotic drink. That cocktail, plus I guess unlucky genetics, churned and swirled until it flowed forth into the rectal cannon supreme. It's been hours since, and I don't think it's over. My cheeks are still splitting with neckbeard exhaust. More gas than the Gulf oil spill. I just chugged a bunch of water to offset what I lost to the fecal fountain. Pray for me. If you believe in a god, he's left my house. Interestingly, my body's a little weird with sweeteners. I can have some now and again, more tolerant than I used to be, so I now keep some, sugar-free sodas in the refrigerator because they're low calorie and it's nice to be able to have something sweet that doesn't have a lot of calories in it, especially as I'm trying to defatten my ass. But stevia is one that I've always been quite good with. That's the one I can have as a sweetener, and I know it won't mess me up. Whereas if I have too many of the others, they tend to have weird effects on me, like make my stomach ache, weird things in my mouth. Bodies are adventurous, aren't they? Okay, that. It's almost 6:30 in the morning. I'm recording later now because it's meant to be cooler because it's warmer. But it's still pretty clammy. But as they say, the fire rises. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support this channel, well, I'd appreciate it. You can sign up for my Patreon page, which is linked down in the description. $1 or more a month, whatever you're comfortable supporting, gets you early access to all the videos at once on Monday. There's also links to my merchandise store, as well also my Discord server, my Threads account, and my email, which is kingofthecities@gmail.com, is also written out down there for you too. If you need to contact me for shoutouts, to send in a story, or if you have any kind of general business inquiries. Still waiting on actual business inquiries. Now and again I'll get ones I think, oh, if that was real, that would be a good one for me. They're never real. I'm going to head off for now. I'm going to cool off in the living room before I head to bed, and also pay some bills. So, until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.